Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way.
Yo, what's good, everybody, and welcome. I'm your boy, the Bro-Kage, and captain of the Red Cloud Pirates, Petty Pat. And as you can see in my normal intro, I do announce the name of the show, and the Straight No Chaser name is going away. If you look behind me, the board is empty and not lit up. I am working on a name change. I want to change the name to something more me and about things I love. So there will be a name change coming to the YouTube channel, the show, the YouTube channel itself, and the TikTok. So just keep an eye out for that update. I am working on names as we speak, but that is all I got on that right now. So let's move on to what today's episode is about. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about Blue Beetle. Now, I did not go to theaters to see this movie because, like most people, I have lost faith in DC making good movies, especially after spending my hard-earned money to go see the terrible movie that is The Flash. I'm not going to say Flash was the end game. Like, it wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. I was pretty much on the verge of being done with DC as a whole anyway, because Justice League was whack, Batman vs. Superman was whack, the second Wonder Woman was whack. I mean, do I need to go on? I don't think I need to go any further with how bad the DC movies have been. But this one, Blue Beetle, it makes up for it. Like, I'm not gonna say it restored complete faith in the DC movie universe for me, but I mean, they're on the track. They're on the right track to get me back if they continue to. I'm not gonna say follow the formula of this movie, because I don't want every movie to be the same. But I say, I don't know, make good movies like this, I guess. I mean, that's all I really can say. For lack of a better word, that's all I can say. Just make good movies like this. Now, some of the characters in this movie, you got Jaime, of course, Blue Beetle, and you got the Reyes fam. I don't want to go into the Reyes family. I mean, you got George Lopez, who plays the crazy uncle. He has a sister, grandmother, his mother, and his father. I honestly love the Reyes family in this movie. You got Lieutenant Carapax, who is essentially Blue Beetle's rival for this movie. You got Victoria Ford, who is the bad guy, played by Susan Sarandon, I believe. And then you got Jenny Ford, who was the daughter of the original Blue Beetle, Ted Kord. Now, immediately starting this movie immediately gave me like Marvel vibes, Ant-Man, Marvel-esque vibes, like right off bat. Because this movie is essentially like Ant-Man. Like, if you remember Ant-Man, they had Hank Pym's, his protege, Darren. He basically wanted to take over Pym Tech. He wanted the Pym particle for himself to basically make weapons. He essentially ends up getting control of Pym Industries, and then ends up making his own like rival version of the Ant-Man suit called the Yellow Jacket. This is essentially basically Ant-Man. I don't want to say it's Ant-Man, but it kind of has some Ant-Man-esque vibes to basically the story. You got the relative and or protege who got control of the company. In this instance, you have Jenny's aunt, Victoria Kord, played by Susan Sarandon, and then you have Lieutenant Carapax, who is essentially the alternative, the rival to Blue Beetle, who has the Olmec, which is the alternative Blue Beetle weapon that Victoria is developing at Kord Industries. Now, I do love that they didn't completely like erase the Blue Beetle story, like, or at least the Jaime Reyes version of the Blue Beetle story, because I love that they mentioned the previous Blue Beetle. They didn't just erase Ted Kord like there wasn't a Blue Beetle before Jaime. Like, I love that they mentioned him. This movie was kind of just circled around his family in general, so we got to see into like Ted Kord's little, I guess, his version of the Batcave. We got to see the Blue Beetle. I don't know what they call it. What do they call the Blue Beetle? Flying Blue Beetle ship. Let me know in the comments. I don't know what it's called, but I'm gonna call it the Blue Beetle ship. We got to see that. Like, I just love that the previous Blue Beetle wasn't just erased from the history of Blue Beetle. So I love that Ted Kord was brought up. I love that this movie circulated around his family. I love that they honestly just made this about the previous Blue Beetle while introducing us to Jaime Reyes and his family. So this movie was not a complete special effects nightmare. Like, it wasn't like The Flash. The Flash was a freaking, like, it was a fucking nightmare to watch special effects wise. Like, it hurt my eyes to watch how bad the special effects were. But that was not the fault of the special effects companies. Like, from what I hear, they had very strenuous work condition and deadlines to meet. Like, so I can understand why it looked like that. So I'm not blaming them at all. DC tried to play it off like, oh, it was meant to look bad, whatever. DC, nah, we not buying that. But anyways, like I said, this was not a complete special effects nightmare. I enjoyed the special effects. There were times where things looked a little rough, but all in all, nothing to make me say, oh, this movie was completely garbage. And honestly, I have to agree with one of my coworkers, like my friend Chris Granger. We saw George Lopez in the trailer of this movie, so we're like, oh, this movie's going to be good. And honestly, the part I least thought I was going to like about this movie, which was George Lopez, I absolutely loved George Lopez in this movie as the uncle. Uncle Rudy, or Cesar for people who are not his friends. If you mess with his taco, if you don't know what a taco is, that's what they call Tacomas. Yeah, I loved George Lopez in this, honestly. And like I said, I thought this was the part I was going to like the least about this movie because I was like, oh, here we go. George Lopez again. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this was freaking... George Lopez did a great job as Rudy, and I can't wait if they make another one for him to come back. And yeah, and not just Uncle Rudy, like not just George Lopez. I enjoyed the entire Reyes family in this. Like, the entire Reyes family was great. I love the family aspect of this. I just like the dynamic of that family. They just seemed like a tight-knit family who just wanted to take care of each other, and they were just there for each other. I just enjoyed the dynamic of this whole family. So I hope we get another Blue Beetle because I want to see more of the Reyes family. I did see at the beginning of this movie, we got to see the other colored beetles fly into space. So low-key, if you saw Young Justice, I hope we get an appearance from Black Beetle because Black Beetle was dope as fuck. I love Black Beetle. And Green Beetle was alright. Green Beetle was there too, but Black Beetle stole the show with Young Justice. If you watch Young Justice, Black Beetle was the shit.
Your laser, it's the only thing that's done any damage.
Now that's just a waste of good fruit. Any more tricks? Meat.
Just a few.
Nothing like a warm plasma bath to calm the nerves and clean off the tomato stains.
You're just toying with us, aren't you?
What gave me away? Trying to suck away my oxygen? I hardly touched the stuff. Seriously, the fruit turned more.
If you haven't watched Young Justice, get on Max and watch Young Justice, please. Like I said before, like Ant-Man, it has some very Ant-Man-esque vibes to this. Like I said before, like Ant-Man, the aunt who took over Cord Industries after Ted died or went missing, not died, went missing. Ted Cord is missing. He is not dead. She is making her own alternative version of the Blue Beetle Scarab because she can't unlock the Scarab that she thinks will be better, and she calls it the Olmec. I don't know if the Olmec is a different type of beetle or scarab. I didn't bother to look it up because I thought if I looked it up, I would be disappointed to find out they did exactly what Ant-Man did. It just named it a different type of beetle or bug. Like you had Ant-Man and then they had their alternative suit, the Yellow Jacket. So I didn't bother to look up if Olmec was an actual thing or creature. In this movie, I thought the Blue Beetle Scarab had a lot of similarities to the Venom symbiote. Like I feel like they were trying, at the end of the day, the Blue Beetle Scarab was designed to protect the host that it chose. It's trying to become symbiotic with the host. It is trying to basically become one with the host. I felt like that was kind of like Venom. Like Venom again, needed the host to survive rather than needed to. So again, yeah, Venom had to protect the host because they needed their host to survive. So I feel like this had, like I said at the beginning, man, I felt like this movie had a lot of Marvel-esque vibes. So I did enjoy this. I feel like that's maybe partially why I enjoyed this so much, because it felt kind of like a Marvel movie. And I'm not talking about current Marvel. I'm talking about Marvel leading into Infinity War and Endgame Marvel. Like everything before Infinity War. That's the Marvel I'm talking about. Now, later on in the movie, there's a thing I like to say. When a certain character is killed off, or a character that means a lot to the main character is killed off, I say it's a death that is needed to happen to progress the story. Now, like examples, like I'm an anime fan. Let's say Jiraiya passing in Naruto. That was a death that needed to happen to progress the story. Kamina dying in Gurren Lagann. That was a death that needed to happen to progress the story. Ace dying in One Piece. Like I can continue and go on and on about examples about deaths that needed to happen to progress stories. But yeah, there was a death that needed to happen to progress the story of this movie and get Jaime on the track to become the Blue Beetle we all know and love. And unfortunately, that was the passing of his father in this movie. His father ended up having a heart attack after Victoria attacked their home to try to find Jaime. Jaime was not there, so again, a crazy fight scene took place. This led to a very stressful situation, which led to their home catching on fire and blowing up, and which led to his father eventually having a heart attack and dying. Again, like I said, it was a necessary death to progress the story, and I feel like we wouldn't have got the Jaime we all know and love had this death not happened. Now, again, moving on with what I say when I say this movie gave Marvel-esque vibes. Like, you could tell James Gunn, at least, I ain't gonna say he had his hands all over this, but you could tell he advised in some way, because this was like so Marvel-like. Like, let me see, here's an example. Like, they had a Black Panther type scene in the movie. So when Jaime gets captured after the whole thing where his dad passes, they basically capture him. They have to extract the code of the Blue Beetle to load it into the Almec to make the Almec basically perfect for Lieutenant Carapax to use at its full potential. And in that scene, that's where Jaime and Kajida, which is the name of the Scarab, start to become one. Kajida, the voice of the Scarab, is played by Becky G. If you don't know who Becky G is, I believe she was the Yellow Ranger in Power Rangers, and she is a famous Latina singer. She played the voice of Kajida, and this was when him and Kajida started to become one. Kajida took him into, like, I want to say, like within the Scarab or within his mind, and he saw his father. Him and his father had the whole talk, like, all right, yo, you need to move on and become a hero. Like, and of course they did the whole thing, how am I going to do it without you? And he was like, I'll always be here. And that's where Jaime kind of was like, all right, I need you, Kajida. And they became one. And then we got to see basically how everything culminated and Blue Beetle became Blue Beetle. This movie honestly was good. It was very refreshing to see from DC after a string of terrible movies and after the box office flop of Flash. This was great to see from Blue Beetle. I, like I said, did not go to the theaters to see this after I spent money to go see The Flash, so I waited for it to hit Max. Hence why this took so long for me to get this video out, because normally I like to get videos out after I see it in theaters, but like I said, I did not go see this. But this was a solid movie, man. I hope this steers DC in the right direction with James Gunn now taking over and we get more movies like this. This movie on Rotten Tomato got a 78% certified fresh rating. I feel the rating was deserved. 78% is about right to me. I feel like it was good. It has a 91% audience rating on Rotten Tomato, which is amazing. I think it got a 6 out of 10 on IMDb, which isn't terrible, but it isn't great either. It has held the #1 spot for #1 movies on Max for a while since debuting, I think like a week or two ago. My rating for this, man, I'm gonna give this a solid 7. This was a good movie, man. And it set us up for a second one. So I hope they continue with the Blue Beetle story. Like I said, I would love to see the other colored scarabs come back. Like I would love to see Black Beetle. Like I'm not joking. Watch Young Justice, people, and you will understand why I'm geeking so hard over Black Beetle. Watch Young Justice. Well, like I said, I give this movie a solid 7. And it deserved every rating it got on Rotten Tomato. I felt like the rating on IMDb was deserved. DC, James Gunn, keep continuing to give us stuff like this. We love it, or at least I love it. I can't say we. I'm not gonna speak for everybody, but I love it. Keep continuing to give us stuff like this. And as always, that's my time. Keep it classy, motherfuckers. Deuces.
Bam.